Hello everyone. I'm Bill. It's the second time that I'm on this event. It's great to be here. I have no idea what he said. I hope it was nice things about me. And I'm here to present something, and by something I mean like I can never present something just in 20 minutes, so you probably won't understand a word that I'm about to say. But my original plan was to show a little bit of what is the vision that we're trying to implement in Pentao going forward, and a simple preview of what's going to be in Pentao 5.3 that's going to be released in February, this month or the next
February
month,
19th.
actually, not, sorry?
February 19th.
February 19th. So, as Stefan mentioned, I'm the guy responsible for the community, which means that I get to travel to places like this and just talk to people. Unfortunately, I have to kind of do more stuff. They think that's not enough for a full-time job. So I also play a role in helping engineering and product management come up with the design of the product. And what we're trying to do is try to, as we release new versions of Pentao, try to get away from what started 10 years ago as a platform that was a collection of individual projects. Matt is here, he started Kettle at the time, Julian started Mondrian, Thomas started Report Designer, and Pentao was built as an umbrella over all those projects to provide an end-to-end solution from data to insight. But one of the things that has been a challenge throughout all of these years is that sometimes it's not easy to combine all of those distinct offerings into something that's coherent and easy to use for the end user or for someone implementing Pentao. Everyone in Pentao firmly believes that there's a lot of things that we can do better than what we've been doing so far, and that's what pushes forward. And our goal is to try to come up with an architecture, an approach for our product that aims to be much more simpler than what we've been having historically. So the goal is for us to start looking at our product in a cohesive way. It all starts on the data side, and that's the main pillar of our software. And this is PDI. PDI is just that good. It's the best data integration tool around. You owe me dinner tonight. And it's something that just everyone needs to use for everything that connects to data. And what we need to do is start building around this core. The goal, and a very simple example of something that we're trying to change. In our stack, we have an OLAP engine, which is Mondrian, that sits on top of our stack, connects to a data warehouse, builds all the cubes, slides and dies, all of those things. And in order for that, we need to model what that data warehouse thing is, and not going into a lot of details. We use an XML file where we put all the Mondrian schemas definition. One of the things that we're trying to do, since we control the stack from end to end, is make sure that as we connect to the data, we start providing business information as soon as we get information. If we connect to Salesforce and we get sales information out of that, we immediately know that there's something that we call a measure, that will be a KPI-driven metric fundamental for our business, and that thing should be seen in light of that. And we also know what customers are. So the goal is for us to start at the data integration side, start building all the information and making sure that those concepts go up to the entire site. So having a central place where we can make all these annotations, we call this internally the metadata about the structure of the data, is something that will complement this offering. All of that will then land and can be accessed in a coherent way and in a governed way. This is something that splits our offering apart. For instance, from guys like Tableau or ClickView, where they are really, really good tools and allow us to validate, upload our Excel. But one of the biggest problems that enterprises have with using those tools is that since they are so easy connecting to data, people cannot control what kind of information people bring from that, from the sources of data. They can quickly connect to any data source, not knowing what that thing is, and come up to wrong conclusions because they can do it themselves way too easy. One of the things that our stack allows us to do is to pursue something that we call the governed data delivery, making sure that what's made accessible for users to consume, by users in a generic way, can be an API to external customers, can be the typical business users, is already approved, tested, validated by IT so that people are sure that the numbers and the insights that they bring are correct. And that can be consumed by an external application or also by our own tools. And this is where usually the typical Pentaho stack, the server, the PA side of things comes into play, where our own tools, either Analyzer or any of the ad hoc tools available, can consume that data, or on a pre-canned way with dashboards, pre-canned reportings, can also consume from the same thing. So some of you, especially the ones that are working with Pentaho for longer, may recall a very, very scary architectural slide that had at least 572 little boxes to explain what Pentaho does. We're really, really, really trying to move away from that and going into this. Like Moran, one of the founders calls this the back of the cat diagram. I never understood why, but something that allows us to explain what we do much more easily. And we're trying actively to, at least this is the goal, on each release, we're trying to get closer to this model each time. One of the concepts that Pentaho is, actually it's not us, that the market is asking a lot, is a blueprint. We call the blueprint something like the recipes, a mix of best practices, products and implementation, that we call the streamlined data refinery. The goal of this is very simple to explain. We all know that we have things like Hadoop, the NoSQL, all of those new ways of storing massive amounts of structured, unstructured, binary data. And this opens basically a huge amount of possibilities. There is just one problem with that. The tools that we have available, typically the tools for ad hoc reporting or quick data exploration, are not ready to work against those huge volumes of data, simply because those huge volumes of data don't process the data they have fast enough. Streamlined data refinery is a concept where, by following some predefined rules, pre-approved and on-demand processes, there's a stream or a pre-built flow that extracts data from those storages and puts them on demand on a data warehouse, and with a model that allows for the normal exploration. So this concept is really simple. Everyone that's, we have a huge amount of data. Usually, no one in a typical real-world scenario wants to analyze everything for every time at the same time. So what we do is trigger the extraction of the subset of data that we want for the analysis that we want, and we turn that huge amount of data into something that our regular infrastructure is ready to consume. When I say extract, bear in mind that I'm talking about the volumes of data that we talked today. For instance, a very good columnar data warehouse, for instance, Vertica, can handle multiple gigabytes of data, billions of rows on the fact table. But these Hadoop clusters can store several petabytes of data on a daily basis. So we're talking about a very, very, very big scale. What I'm going to show you here is a very simple, it's a very simple example. This is Tensor 5.3, or a build close, a release candidate close to what I think is going to be. And I'm going to show these concepts applied to a very simple scenario. We use one of the free data sources that's available out there. This thing is running on my machine, so there's absolutely no way that I can have an Hadoop cluster on this small computer. 20 minutes. This will work well. Oh, no worries. Ruth will keep me out of here before my laptop dies. So this is an example that uses a sample movie database. Let's imagine that this thing is really big, which actually isn't, just for demo purposes. And the goal is for me, business user, that want to do an analysis on a subset of data, can, before doing the analysis, trigger the extraction of data. So what I need to do is, for instance, I wanna see the females that make more money than I do, and what kind of movies they have, and success ladies. And since this is an exploration, I want to make sure that this data source is only visible to myself. One of the things that some of you I have no W's or no caps. One of the things that we added on 5.3 is, even though it's not visible on the UI, on the back end we added support for security on data sources. Till now, all data sources were visible to anyone that could have access to data sources, whether it was up or nothing. Now, I can build my process so that I have some REST and code that allow me to specify that this specific data source will be created and only I can see it. What happened in here is that we had an application, it's a Sparkle app, I have to say that because I love Sparkle, that was built to trigger this ETL process. So this thing runs, and in the end we go into Analyzer, where now I only see the information that I selected. And if I go in here, for instance, where is the gender? We'll be able to confirm that we only have the female gender, which is the subset of that. One of the things that we are also working, and it's included on 5.3, is the concept of auto-modeling. What I did in here is I did not have to create manually a Mondrian schema to do these things, to create this schema in here. What happened is that in the backend, this is the transformation that is run when I click the Go button. This is simply something like collecting the fields. It's a regular ETL job, nothing fancy if you know how PKI works. And believe me, this is nothing fancy if you know how PKI works. It can get much uglier than that. But what's new in here, and this is something that we're betting a lot, is that now we have a new field, a new step called annotate stream, where what we do is we provide more information about what that string actually means. PDI is an ETL2, so they know that country is a string with 64 characters long. PDI has no idea if a country is actually the second level of our geographical hierarchy between state and continent or whatever. So what we do in here is that we try to provide business information to these things in here, so that, for instance, when we get to the, I don't know, where is the measure in here? There is no measure in here. State. That this is an attribute. This belongs to that hierarchy, to the location dimension. Basically, we ask for all the information so that when this thing gets sent to the server, when we publish the model and publish the data source, what happens is that this thing gets generated automatically. Our vision of modeling is no modeling at all. Basically provide as much information as we can when we are processing the data, so all of these things just make sense when it comes to consuming information. One other thing that we implemented here was the ability to control these small screens. Let me just open this thing in Rhino, or else I will not be able to do anything. Is the ability to control, my screen is all screwed up. Is the ability to control programmatically what happens on an analyzer view. On I'll just forget this. What happens is that from 5.3.4 we added a bunch of APIs to Analyzer, so we can control what users can do in here. What you should be able to read is, if my computer was working properly, is that this view detects that this data set is only visible to myself, but I can get to the conclusion that this is interesting to more people. So what I did in here was a customization that I can just say that I can change on the fly the permissions of this data source. So just by clicking this button, and I'm just calling some REST APIs, documented stuff, I'll be able to make this data source available, so that area will disappear, and now every user on my system is able to access these data sets. And another thing that we implemented on data sources is the ability to, or at least on this flow, the ability to control the life cycle of the data sources. So on this dashboard, we know when those things were generated, how long they took, who triggered the request, and I can just go there and delete the data source. And if this thing works, hopefully I will not see anymore the data source that I created on demand. So this flow is actually something that we're trying to make sure that picking up on real world scenarios, on something that is something that enterprises really need, which is the ability to address the self-service analytics problem on large data sets. We use this specific scenario to basically guide the development of our product and making sure that all the pieces fit together. On this simple demo, I showed 4 new things out of more, but 4 new specific asks that are part of the 5.3 release. The Analyzer APIs, there's a huge list of things that we can do programmatically on Analyzer. all that published data sources and modeling steps on the ETL. Data sources security, the ability to select, I want to create a data source, but only for me. I don't want that guy to look at it. And the ability to delete the data sources remotely. There are some additional things on 5.3. After I have another coffee, I will remember which one those are. But I'm sure. But this is an example, like an end-to-end example of all of these things combined. And it's something that we want to make sure that improves on the next versions. This SDR sample is a reference, an example implementation of this SDR scenario. It's available on the Pentaho website on the documentation. If you just Google Pentaho SDR sample, just click on the first link, and it will allow you to just download this thing. This is actually a Spark Lab. So if you just mention it, if you open Spark, you'll just see it in here. And since this was only possible to just work out of the box, because since 5.2 ctools are actually bundled within the platform. They are there. In order for things not to be too disruptive, the only difference is that we removed the menu items so that when a user wouldn't be confused, but they are there under the hood. And that also allowed us to add a new sample on the for a ctools dashboard, and this is just for reference and show off because I like it. We have a new ctools dashboard, part of the standard steel wheel scenario, that now it's possible to include because ctools are there out of the box, and it's just one more example of what can be done with combining all the different pieces of the platform. I'm out of time.